Right, yeah. Well, I was born here. I was born in that house up the road here, 75 years ago nearly, and my whole youth was living here on the River Nore. My father and his cousin ran the mill here when I was young, and it was a booming little flour mill, and the animal feed and all that sort of stuff. And so that was the background. And the site itself is, like this mill here, is probably 1750, that sort of period it was built. But the original mill site and the mill over on the far side of the river is the little mill, we call it, and that mill was actually running as a mill in 1501. There's a description of it. So basically it's a very old historic site, and it depended, because of the river, it depended on the power of the river to run it. So it was always run with water wheels, and then my great-grandfather put in a turbine here, a big American turbine that is still there and working every day, 110 years ago. Well, the milling business in Ireland has been changing all the time, and all the little small country mills have been sort of closed down, basically because it was uneconomical to run. The whole of Ireland now can be run with one mill virtually, because of the efficiency of modern machinery. But in those days it was a booming mill. We supplied all the bakers in the area, and you know, and all the farmers, and we bought the grain from the farmers. So that was the background to it. When the mill closed down back in '82, it was sitting here redundant, and the company that was involved in the milling at that stage, it was sort of regrouped, and we bought the mill from them because it was redundant, and so we specialise in sort of reusing old things and developing our business from that. My father introduced me to the bank manager and said, you can borrow whatever he is willing to give you, and he gave me 4,500 of a term loan, and in those days interest rates were about 21% or something like that, and that term loan went on forever. We also got a small loan for running the business for another £500, but in those days that was big money, and we started the business with that. My father always said to me when I was growing up, don't go into the milling business, because it was a dead-end job in those days, because all the mills were closing down. This mill here was the smallest mill in Ireland, making white flour for bakers when I was growing up. So we were on the end of a tether at that stage, and now when it closed down, we took over in the pottery. We were working from a cow shed up the road here, and we were doing very nicely as a sort of 3-4 person pottery, but the opportunity of what we called free power was really interesting to us, because we could start firing kilns with the power that we made. And that was another journey that went on for a long time, and we eventually got the power working, and we use it now to this day, and it's very beneficial to the business. Yeah, the two original turbines on the site are one on the far side of the river and the one here, and they make enough power for it. We don't use the power directly, we use it in conjunction with the ESB. So anything that we make ourselves we use, and anything else that's required we can get in from the ESB automatically. So there's a sort of a two-way metering system that works for us. At the moment, 60 to 70 people. So we do everything from here, we make everything here, and all our staff are from the locality. We train our own staff, and so it's a really sort of we've always worked on the I suppose the principle of doing everything here ourselves in order to keep the old way of working. We've had to look for the old technology. And a lot of the places will be closing down in England and all over Ireland, and so we're sort of scavengers by nature, and we go in there and we buy the sort of equipment that would work for us, and it's by our technology it's actually quite efficient, but for modern industry it wouldn't be. Yeah, and there's a certain romance to it all as well. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we're using machines that have come out of Stoke-on-Trent with 100 years wear, and we're setting them up and revamping them so that they work for us for another 100 years. Oh yeah, Susan she does all the stuff that I can't do, which is an awful lot. And she sort of basically she does a huge amount in sort of developing the brand. She also designs all the pots, all the patterns and everything. So, you know, and she's a botanical artist in her own way. She can make all these designs work on pottery and the colours and everything. She has a very good business knowledge, and something that I don't have.
I am Susan Mosse, and I've worked with Nicholas Mosse for too long to even mention. And I came to Ireland way back when, before we even began the business. And I fell in love with something called spongeware. When I'd go to the farmers markets and I'd see it, very lowly, sort of very colorful, happy kind of pottery. I'd come from New York and there was no such thing over there. Everything was very minimalist and pure and simple. So when I saw this gaudy, fabulous pottery that was old, probably been gone, but it was very Irish. I fell madly in love with it. And then I fell in love with Nick, and the rest was sort of history. But you can get a good idea of the old ceramics that really were our inspiration, our Irish heritage, English heritage, Scottish heritage. It's a technique that had happened, well, in the 19th, even before the 19th century, 18th century as well. So that was sort of when he got back from Japan, and we were married and we were looking for a way forward. We took on this Irish notion, this Irish technique, and this Irish look. So before the inspiration, it came along and we worked hard to, about 1985, I think we started doing this, and it was fairly successful. So then we started, you can see on this line up here, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a sort of history of all the different designs we've done over the years. And it's been great fun. Not always easy, sometimes easy. Anyway, we've kept doing it, and we love doing it, and we have wonderful staff who do a wonderful job producing it. We had a wonderful agent in New York for a while, and she said, the Americans like more decoration. You put some more on it. We had to go all the way down to it, so we did. And we've gone through all sorts of phases, but trends change. We've been doing it so long, you do get trends where things are more crowded or more decorated, and then more minimal, and we try to keep up with that. But we also have some classic that will never change, like Old Rose or Tulip, which has come back in a big way now. So it's very interesting, actually, how people respond to our spongeware. It's great fun. Well, I'm afraid I'm a bit of a gardener, so florals. I did a lot of botanical painting, and I do like my garden, and I do like plants, and also in the history, if you look at the history of design, there's a lot of floral inspiration coming from all over the place. It's non-geometric is pretty much. I'm not geometric, I'm a flower lady.
We've tried to, it's part of the scavenging thing really. You know, when we started off, shipping was a huge problem because box making hadn't really developed very well, and the boxes we could get were cardboard boxes. So we went to a wonderful tea manufacturer in Dublin who were buying their tea chests in from India, from Africa and China, and all those tea chests were being thrown out. So we used to get 40-foot trucks loaded up with empty tea chests, and on the side of them was something from Mombasa, something from Kenya, and all these different places. And we used them for years and years. We still use them for storage and everything. We did that, but we also made our own wood wool. And we took forestry thinnings, and we bought a machine over in England which made the forestry thinnings into wood wool. I don't know, nobody seems to use wood wool anymore. But it's a wonderful material, and of course it's outlawed now because it could have you know, detrimental insects in it or something like that. But it's really, really good. And for years we did use the wood wool. That was great. But then we got polystyrene pellets in, and we didn't like using them because they were unnatural, and there was no way of getting rid of them afterwards. So we gave our customers a headache by having that. So then we tried to go back to the cardboard. So we were able to get better cardboard boxes, but now we have nothing to pack them in. So we approached a cheese maker who was buying in cheese in large boxes, and they cut up the cheese, and they had these empty boxes that were basically for recycling of some sort. And we recycled some of them by shredding them. And so we're making something that's almost as good as the wood wool, and very effective and totally safe for shipping all over the world. Yeah, we have a huge lighting bill because the mill is an old building with very small windows, and so natural light is not something that we can depend on. So we would be spending we would be using about 40 kilowatts of lighting originally, and then you'd have all the motive power for the machines and everything. So we were using a huge amount of power, and okay, the turbines helped to deal with that issue, but we looked at as time went on, more efficient lighting is coming out, and so now we have LED lighting, which is very, very strong and very efficient, and we've halved our bills that way.
The first thing I would suggest to people is to contact their regional energy agency and carry out an energy audit, which they will get funding to do, and that will tell them how their business is performing in terms of what the applications and machines in their business are actually using in terms of energy. We did an energy audit here a few years ago, and we found that some things it opened our eyes to. Certainly we saw that our lights were using a lot of electricity, but we also found a lot of things like motors and fans that we use in specific functions in the business were actually rated very highly, so they were using a lot of energy. So we found that maybe we should source a better performing machinery. As Nick had said, that we tend to reuse other machinery that other people have discarded, but sometimes that's not a good idea because those machines could be quite old and quite inefficient. So that's the time to recognise, well, maybe we have to move on and get something newer and more efficient. And despite the fact that it would be a cost, it would actually pay for itself and be more efficient for the business and make business more profitable going forward. The energy audit then, I suppose, told us about our lighting. We have a substantial amount of lighting in the big building that we have, and by getting in the LED lighting in it halved the energy usage in all instances there. The
most important thing that I got when I was starting off was a potter down in Cork, in Shanagarry Pottery. Old Philip Pearce said, get the product right and everything will go right after that. And it was a sort of simple thing, because you can go into all the horror stories that one gets when you're running a business and say, don't do this because you'll avoid that problem. But that's not the issue. The issue is to have a really good product that people want, and we've tried to do that. Like Susan is very good at all that. We've taken the sort of rural Irish romantic issue and we've regenerated it so that our customers, who are part of the whole high-tech life, have something that is handmade. It brings colour to their life, and it brings a sort of a nice sort of handmade look to their lives.
So yeah, to look at what are the most obvious things that you can do, and there are. So there's so many options open to people. If you have a south-facing roof, you could put solar panels, put in PV panels, and that's something else we're looking at that we may do in the future to augment the electricity that we have here. But these are all projects that you can kind of say as a short term, as a long term, and have something that you can get your teeth into to begin with, and then maybe plan towards building it up. And again, it's all about making your business more profitable, you know, and it does help that it saves the planet as well.
Right, so this is the raw clay that comes from under the coal mine, and basically it's the sticky clay that stops the bog from forming, and when they mine the coal, which used to be a bog, they get this as a waste product, and this is what we buy. It is, according to the geologists, it is 123 million years old. So it comes up and it has to get put into a mixer over here, and the mixer mixes it all into a cream, and we take all our waste material. Here's a clock, and the clock's, that was a bad one, so we threw it away, and it'll all get mixed back into the product. And so here we have the very beginning of the business, and then it gets mixed up, it gets sieved twice, and it gets just like a cream, and then we'll see the finished clay coming out and extruded. So the clay is stored here in its sieved form. It's like a cream, and it's held here in suspension until it's needed for pressing, and we try to press the water out of it in this clay press. It's pumped at high pressure with this pump here into the clay press, which is a filter press, and it's rather like a coffee filter. It takes the grounds or the clay particles and it holds them in the filter press, and the water comes out under pressure, and we recycle the water then to make more clay. But now we're just going to have a look at the filter cakes being dropped out. The liquid clay gets pumped through a center hole here, and it comes into this void, and when the clay particles can't get out through this filter cloth, so the water gets out but the clay doesn't, and what you see here is the clay without the water in it. It's actually quite soft. It's just about ready to go into the pug mill. So this pug mill is the very same as a sausage making machine, but much bigger, and what it does is it has blades inside, and the blades rotate and they mix the clay, and then they take all the air out of the clay so that it's really good to use, and it comes out in extrusion out here. It's a bit of madness, but there you are.
Original now.
Yeah. Yep, one way to lift a block.